Hey guys, it's Matt here, and today I'm doing another episode of Matt Rants, and we're talking about a mistake. Oh god, this is a mistake. So, what mistake am I talking about here? Well, I assume you might know if you're looking at the title of the video and the thumbnail, but still, if not, let's talk about it. So, we're not asking a question this time, we're not asking, oh, is this a mistake? Oh, no, this is a mistake. So, Reggie Fils-Aimé is making the media rounds. That's not a mistake. He's fine. He's doing just fine. But some of the stuff that he's saying is it's a problem. It's a problem. So he was recently talking to the Hollywood Reporter, and he warned that the NES and SNES Classic Editions that have been out for a while now. I mean, NES Classic Edition's been out for on and off for 3 years. SNES since last year. When they sell out, they're gone, just completely gone. Once they're sold out, no more, that's that. Okay, so, which, by the way, makes me think, so are they selling out to maybe make some of those N64 classics? Even though he's already said in a different interview that I covered on Matt Rants that no, he's not, or Nintendo is it, not him Reggie's just doing this personally. All of these are just him personally sitting down. He crafts everyone by hand. It's his own personal Etsy. No, it's Nintendo not doing this, and yeah, So he's quoted as saying that the NES and SNES Classic Editions are the quote-unquote the extent of our classic program. So in other words, no N64 Classic and beyond, which I will admit for the beyond, anything past N64 Classic, you gotta wait a while. I feel like even though, yes, the GameCube came out, I'm not going to say what year because it will age me terribly, but still the point though is that, yeah, they came out a while ago in the 2000s, early 2000s, but still, I feel as if you need to wait a little bit longer, at least 5 years, 3 to 5 years for a GameCube Classic and beyond. But N64 Classic, I mean, a PS1 Classic came out, I think it's a good time for that, so I think it would be a good time for an N64 Classic. You can tell me what you think down below. I think it's a good time for an N64 Classic. But again, he's saying, hey, no N64 Classic, the NES and SNES Classics are, once they're gone, they're gone. And he said something, now this was odd, because Fils-Aimé said that Nintendo has, quote-unquote, been clear about its retro strategy. Look, I love Nintendo, I really do. You guys have seen the shelf behind me when I film sometimes. There's a lot of Nintendo stuff back there. I do like Nintendo. My first console and handheld both were Nintendo. A Super Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and let's say Super Nintendo in general, as if there's a classic, but there's only one Super Nintendo. And also the Game Boy Color are my first both handheld and home console. So I like Nintendo, I really do, but you guys haven't been clear. I mean, you said you were going to say, I mean, unless maybe I'm misremembering, I don't remember them saying the NES Classic Edition was only getting X amount of copies and then that's that. They said it after they sold out and people were like, where are these? And they were like, oh no, yeah, those were it. And people were like, wait, what? Why would you not stock more of these? And then, of course, they eventually did, and there still are NES and SNES Classic Editions around. I even did a video about it, now that video is super dated, about how you can actually get them at GameStop and even a few other places as well, like Target and Amazon. So, and also, by the way, there are some stories, I should admit, there are some stories that SNES Classics are still stocked on a bunch of different store shelves depending on your area, so it's not as if those, it's not like they didn't overstock those. I mean, my small little Toys R Us that ended up closing after we did this. I actually did a video on this on Those Guys Play on the channel about Tristan and I going to my small little Toys R Us, very small, tiny little Toys R Us in a huge mall, and it got 90 SNES Classic Editions. So Nintendo definitely learned their lesson with the SNES Classic, but still to remove these and to not have these just because the Switch Online service has NES games and then we'll soon have SNES games. Look, I know I'm not a businessman. I mean, yes, we do have t-shirts and a Patreon and other shameless plugs, but still, I'm not a businessman in terms of when comparing me to like Reggie Fils-Aimé or Phil Spencer. I'm not a businessman of that caliber, of that regard. But at the end of the day, I truly do not understand the idea that, oh, we have this old thing available on this new thing. If we have it available elsewhere, people are not going to want to buy it on our new thing. It's like, no, 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 no. People, if people want to play an NES game or an SNES game, they want to get that classic fix, that classic nostalgia bump, if you will. They're not going to take that through the Nintendo Switch. As much as the Nintendo Switch, as much as it is cheap compared to its competitors, yes, the PS4, the non-pro one, the PS4 is now at like $200, so yes, it is cheaper than a Switch, but still, if you're going to buy a Switch, yes, you can get the Nintendo Online service, which actually is pretty cheap. I've heard some issues with it, a lot of issues, but it still is really cheap, though, per year. I think it's like $5. But here's the issue, though. My issue is that you're not going to have someone go, I want to play Excite Bike. Well, I guess I'm going to spend $305 to play Excite Bike. No, you're going to... Actually, I forgot if Excite Bike is even on the NES Classic. But still, the point, though, is that you're not going to have someone pay $305. You're not going to have someone go, man, I really want to play Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend $220 to do that. No, you're going to spend $100 on a PS1 Classic, and if Symphony of the Night was freaking on there, then you would have actually had it on the Classic console available to play for you. No, you're going to say, well, I guess I'm not getting the PS1 Classic because it doesn't have Symphony of the Night. And you're not, if you don't have a PS4, you're not going to sit there and say, I'm going to spend $220. Or for PS4 Pro, what is it, $620, $420? Still, if you're trying to try out these games because it's been a while, you're not going to spend all that money on a brand new console. Sorry, maybe it's just me being in my mid to late 20s. God, I hate saying to late. Mid to late 20s, and I don't have a lot of cash. But that Nintendo Switch was something that I've been eyeing for years now. Obviously, as long as it's been out. It's only been out for like almost 2 years. But still, I've been eyeing it for a while. And I only pulled that trigger because GameStop had that deal. I wasn't going to, I've talked about this in other videos, GameStop had a deal for Cyber Monday, where it was, hey, get this new Switch and a $50 gift card. But if they didn't have that, I wouldn't have a Switch right now. $300 is a lot of money to a fair amount of Americans. And if you want people to stumble into your gaming console to see what old games, rather, they might want to play with your Netflix type system, it's not going to work unless you take the Switch online and actually apply it to smart TVs, to computers, to other platforms that people might have accessible to them. So if you said, I say you as if I'm actually speaking to Reggie, but if Nintendo said, hey, we're going to have a Switch Online service, we're going to call it Nintendo Online, it'll be available on the PC, on your smartphone, and on your smart televisions. I'm not saying that they should do that, but if they did, then that, to me, is like, oh, of course, purely accessible to anyone who wants to relive the classics. But to say, and it's not just a Nintendo thing, it's other companies as well, to say, hey, you have to buy our hundreds of systems that cost hundreds of dollars just to play those few games just for a few seconds and then maybe not want it. That's the reason why the NES and SNES Classic Editions exist alongside the PS1 Classic and many other classics. They're there so that people can experience their older games again, brand new for the first time in God knows how many years. They're for the casual fans. So to say we're discontinuing these, but don't worry, they're on Switch Online, I don't care if they put every single game that was on the NES and SNES Classic Editions on the Switch Online service. Even if Switch Online service was perfect, I could recommend that service to so many people who had an NES and SNES back in the day, but they're just going to tell me, ooh, but $300, that's a pretty steep price point. Because, yeah, that it is for someone who is just trying to re-experience some of these games. So, I don't know. Again, guys, I'm not a business guy. I'm not a businessman to that caliber like Reggie Fils-Aimé and many others in the gaming industry. I mean, compared to Soulja Boy, oh, I am simply a peasant. But at the end of the day, I just do not understand why companies will say, hey, look, we have a remake out, so don't get the old one. I mean, at least with Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood, at least those are, I don't believe those were HD remakes in any way. They just looked a little bit better through, because they had the original source code. But other than that, when you're looking at like Crash, the Insane Trilogy, or Spyro Reignited, I'm not going to look at those and say, well, those are a damn good replacement for Crash 2 and for Spyro 1 and 3. Like, no, I'm going to sit there and be like, I like the remasters, but I also like the originals. Because the originals are the ones that I played when I was a kid. That's kind of what you're looking for when you're looking to play your older retro games again. So I think this is a very bad idea. I think that Nintendo is making a little oopsie daisy here, because I think you can have all of the money, just all of the money. Now, if Reggie said, hey, we're slowing down production, I'd be okay with that. I'm okay with them slowing down production because, yeah, maybe we're getting out of the retro gaming craze, if you will. I mean, the video on was on This Does Not Comp, that was the channel, kind of discussed, and I'll link his video down below, actually discussed this idea that maybe we're stepping outside the retro craze because we do have, situations where we have SNES classics still on store shelves, and every time a store gets rid of them, all of a sudden they're restocked again. So I would understand if Nintendo said, hey, we're stocking less NES classics and SNES classics, or hell, if they said, look, we're selling them through our own online store, that's it. We're not stocking them in stores anymore. I'd actually understand why they would want to do that. But at the end of the day, to say, no, we're just discontinuing them completely because don't you worry, we're going to have those NES and SNES games on the Switch, but thank you for someone who has a Switch. Okay, thank you. If I didn't have the classics, okay. Sure, if I had all those games on the Switch, okay. But at the end of the day, it's just, you're not going to get new blood in that way. It's just, you need new blood to actually, when you're a business and you want those new fans to come in, you can get some of them, yes, through your new console, of course, duh. But at the end of the day, gaming as a hobby, it's growing. We're getting older. So why would you not have just that little sliver of money coming in? And I say sliver compared to what Nintendo's making, but they've making a hell of a lot from NES and SNES Classic Editions. Why would you not have that money coming in just as another alternate revenue stream? They're such a huge company. I guess maybe it's a lot less work to just put them online versus putting them out in store shelves, and I get it, but it doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense. But tell me if it makes sense to you guys down below. I want to hear what you guys think down below in the comments section, and thank you all so much for watching. As always, please remember to like and subscribe if you liked the video, and if you didn't like the video, you can still like and subscribe either way. Alright guys, thank you all so much. Love you all. Take care, and tune in next time for another episode of Matt Rants. Alright guys, so see ya.